Agency. Well, Olga Lautman is Senior Fellow at the Centre for European Policy Analysis and host of Kremlin File, a weekly podcast on Putin's Russia. Olga, thank you very much for being with us. Here in the West, we've seen the ramping up of language, lots of strong words being used, but it seems that it's the same in Russian media as well. Has this changed over the last 48 hours?
Absolutely. The change actually began last weekend, and it began with this narrative that they started building of genocide being committed in Ukraine. It varied by which politician said it and which media outlet discussed it, but it was basically, ranging from politicians saying that Ukraine is committing genocide to Ukraine is preparing a massacre of Russians inside of Ukraine. And we saw this today from the foreign ministry spokeswoman. We saw this from Putin. And pretty much that's when you saw the shift take place. And then from there, by Wednesday night, we saw it shift over into these shellings and the increase of shellings. And then by yesterday was with the bombing of the kindergarten. And now it's like every 10 minutes, there's another event unfolding, bombing or shelling of a town. And you see the escalation with the violence escalating within the past 48 hours and the propaganda escalating since last weekend.
Media in Russia is controlled by the state. How is this being received by people in Russia? Are they taking it with a pinch of salt?
It's hard to get a measure. Privately, when I speak with people inside of Russia, they do not want a war. Right now, they have coronavirus spiking, and there's, economic problems. So privately, they don't want a war. Publicly, they can't voice that because anyone who makes any critical, criticism of Putin's regime immediately gets arrested or harassed by Russia's intelligence services, FSB. So it's hard to get a good read of what's happening. We did have the case of a few generals who came out and spoke out against the war and, called for Putin to resign and basically said what we're all saying, that NATO poses no threat to Russia.
What is President Putin's aim here?
Well, I've been thinking about that a lot for a while. Why now? And he is, he's ruled Russia over 20 years, and he has nothing to show for it over the past 20 years. And, the economy is faltering, conditions inside Russia are horrible. And I think that he wants to basically capture territory because he saw the Soviet Union collapse as one of the biggest catastrophes, and he continuously repeated that over the past 20 years. And I think he wants to leave a legacy behind that, he did recapture territory. We saw Belarus, which has been softly annexed because right now Putin controls basically the military inside of Belarus, as well as having the territory to conduct exercises. And we know he's always wanted Ukraine. He definitely doesn't want a democratic Ukraine. So I think it's both about restoring legacy, and it's also ensuring that his neighbors, do not have successful democracies, because then people inside Russia are going to look and say, we want this type of country.
Okay, Olga Lautman from the Centre for European Policy Analysis, thank you very much for making the time for us. Appreciate it.